Welcome to the first of our series of video homilies as we operate as virtual church in this new, slightly strange cyberspace world. As I've confessed before, I'm a bit of a Nick Cave fan. And as I was thinking through this gospel, the story of the raising of Lazarus back to life, Nick Cave's song Death Is Not the End from his album The Murder Ballads kept coming into my mind. And all that you held sacred falls down and does not mend. Just remember that death is not the end. Not the end. Not the end. The situation we're living through at the moment with this invisible virus changing our whole way of living and pinning us into our homes has made many of us very afraid. Questions of our mortality and our vulnerability have begun to rear their head, creating a really deep sense of fear that we see expressed in all the panic buying. Of course, none of us have died or come back from the dead, so none of us really know what it is that's out there beyond this life, but we choose to believe the great truth in the Christian story, that whatever it is that lies beyond in the great mystery beyond death, God is there, and God is love. On this fifth Sunday in Lent, we read Jesus' proclamation, "I'm the resurrection and the life." And in this gospel reading, Jesus brings light into the lives of Mary, Martha, and Lazarus when he calls Lazarus back from the dead. Jesus hears that his friend Lazarus is ill. Martha sends a message. And when he finally gets to Bethany, he's met by Martha, who says, "Lord, if you had only been here, my brother would not have died." And this extraordinary statement combines some faith, combined with a bit of blame. If Jesus is really so powerful, then why not hold him responsible for the times and the ways when he doesn't use that power? And that's exactly what we do, of course. We accuse God with that same mix of faith and accusation in our moments of personal grief and loss. And it tells us that Jesus is visibly disturbed and deeply moved. It tells us that Jesus wept. Faced with the loss of death, faced with all the pain and grief death brings, Jesus weeps. This story of Jesus and Lazarus operates at more than one level. At the most basic level, it tells the story of a dead person being restored to life, something that seems completely improbable and completely impossible. It's a miracle. John gives us a very real sense of what this death meant for the people involved, so we can almost see and feel the weeping and the grief, the emergence of the embalmed body, and all the wonder and the shock as this happens. But there's another level of meaning here. Into this dramatic, painful, grief-filled situation, Jesus declares, "I am the resurrection and the life. Anyone believing in me, even if they die, will live." We see here that the life Jesus offers isn't an avoidance of death, because we can never, any of us, avoid physical death. It's a resurrection that defeats the fear and the hopelessness that death brings, because, as the song goes, death is not the end. Death is not the end. Jesus' statement reminds us that death isn't the whole story, and that instead we're invited into a resurrection that's not only about hope for the future out there, but also an abundant, full life here and now. Like Lazarus, we will all die. Like taxes, death is inevitable. But today we hear that even this ending doesn't take us beyond the reach of God. Nothing can take us beyond the reach of God. Above all, Jesus' statement reminds us that death isn't the whole story, and that we're invited into a resurrection that's not only about hope for the future, but a big, clear reality right now. Nick Cave's song, "And all that you held sacred falls down and does not mend. Just remember that death is not the end." The Lord be with you.